Has been red hot to date. The Outsiders, who invaded Michigan and swept the Wolverine Stakes doubleheader, are two of the 6 different winners so far this season to claim victory in as many races in the hard-fought series known as ASA. With the heat of summer, the tour rolls into the city of speed. Whereas we saw last year, along with the temperatures, the tempers get hot. Strap in and keep your cool. ASA races into Indy next.
Well, I hope it's a nice sunny Sunday where you are, because tonight, Saturday night, the Speedway Starvin Marvin 200 presented by Winds here at Indianapolis Raceway Park was threatened by seriously nasty weather with a capital N. You see the lightning flashing all around IRP, but things have started to break up. The clouds hopefully have moved on, and possibly we're going to be able to get this race in for you. 71 degrees, the wind is picked up. It says 12 miles an hour, but in the last couple of minutes, it seems to have gotten a little bit heavier than that. Hi everyone, Ralph Shaheen along with Jim Trado, high atop IRP as we get set to go racing with the ASA series here in Indianapolis. Now, the last 6 races, we've had 6 different winners. That's not unusual in ASA racing. What is unusual is the 3 names that are not in victory circle yet.
Looking in the history books, in 1974, there were 11 different winners and 11 races in the American Speed Association. 2 of those guys were Mike Eddy and Bob Seneker. Those guys have not won yet in 1997.
Here's a look at the 7-time champ right there. 54 career wins, but no trips to victory lane so far in 97.
Now, Bob Seneker has the most career victories, but he's gone 37 races without a win, 17 without a victory coming into this season.
The third name you heard already is Scott Hansen. Now, between 91 and 93, he did compete in 29 races and went 0 for 29. But during that period, he was rehabbing a broken leg, so Jim, I think we need to give him a little bit of a break for that.
And he was leading the points when he broke his leg, so it could have been a championship season for him.
Well, there is one other driver who would like to put his name in a victory lane here in race number 7 in the 97 Tour. His name is Rick Beebe. He's down on the pole for tonight's race. Standing by alongside of him is the third member of our broadcast crew, Dave Burns.
Ralph, the first time Rick Beebe sat on a pole for an ASA race, he was a substitute driver for Bobby Dodder at the I-70 Speedway. Tonight, he's in his own right, and the first pole for car owner Dan Hodges. Now, Rick, I know at the end of the race tonight, you'd like to be talking to me again in victory lane, but this has to be significant for the whole St. Louis Gear and Royal Machine team.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Hodges Motorsports and all the guys in Keokuk gave me a great car for this race, and luckily we were able to qualify it on the pole, which was a big uplift for the team. Everybody's real tickled, and just going to try to keep her here all night and have a good run, have some fun.
Now, he is going to get to move to the outside at the start of the race for the high line, which is the faster line around IRP. And what about IRP? Ralph, you talked about the rain that we had earlier. That washed a lot of good rubber off this racing surface. Normally, this thing is very loose when the sun goes down. But with all this rubber gone, it gets even looser. If you start out tonight with a neutral or loose race car, you're bound to be all over the place. If you set up a little bit tight, you might be real good to win this thing.
Thank you, Dave. Let's take a look at the point standings now with 6 races in the books. You'll see that Kevin Sawinski, who is last year's Pat Shower Rookie of the Year, leads the point standings. Dave Sensible, who has not won yet in 97, Jim, is very, very strong, very consistent, and should be pulling into victory lane. You would think any week now he sits in second.
His worst finish of the year was 8th. Gary St. Amant finally scoring a victory in the 5th race of the year. Scott Hansen and Mike Miller round up the top 5.
Looking at the back half of the top 10, there you see our pole sitter, Rick Beebe, Carlson, Harold Fair, who's been dancing around up near the top of the points each night, and Joe Knott rounding out the back half of the top 10. Well, let's go ahead and head on downstairs to Dave Burns so we can fire up these motors, put a little more heat in this racetrack, and get this race underway here at IRP. Dave?
Ralph, I'm standing by with Neil McCleary, who is a director of sales for Winston. And what's the connection? Well, the Speedway and Starvin Marvin stores are the second largest venue for their products. So, Neil, you have a big job tonight. Go ahead and get us started.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Well, the only thunder they're hearing here in Indianapolis right now comes from the 9-1 V6 motors of the AC-Delco Challenge Series as the Starvin Marvin 200 gets set to get underway. The AC-Delco Challenge Series on TNN is brought to you in part by your GM Goodwrench service dealer. We want your business. Well, the Speedway Starvin Marvin 200 presented by Wins here at IRP is underway. Boy, if you were with us earlier, you would have been amazed to see cars out here now. The weather was absolutely nasty, Jim, and that's a nice way of putting it.
Had to be 50-mile-an-hour winds. The storm came in such a quick hurry, and a great job by the track crew to get this track cleared off.
Here's a look at the starting grid for tonight's race. Rick Beebe starts on the pole, a new track record here at IRP, 113.1. Scott Hansen starts up on the front row for the first time in 97.
In row 2, we find Mike Garvey, Kevin Sawinski. These drivers have won events this year. Kevin Sawinski, the most recent winner, comes in also as the point leader in row 2.
Junior Hanley, the best stock car driver ever in the country of Canada, and Steve Holzhausen from Wisconsin in row 3.
Qualifying 7th was Joe Knott. He had the quickest time here in 1995, and Harold Fair climbing into the top 10 in points in the 81 Pontiac.
Here's row 5. Nice qualifying effort by Jack Landis, and the winner at the season opener, Mike Miller, starts alongside in row 5.
Qualifying 11th, Peter Cozzolino. He has experience here in USAC sprint cars. Teammate to Joe Knott will start inside of Mike Eddy, the 7-time series champ in the GM Goodwrench Pontiac.
Robbie Pyle, great qualifying effort for the Pontiac driver, the number 12 machine, and Brett Bell, his Ford Thunderbird, rolls off on the outside of row 7.
Gary St. Amand and Steve Carlson, both of these guys have been in the top 10 in every race. They've been contenders in every race. We'll see how they advance for the 8th row.
Ted Smokestad and Ray Skillman, the Indianapolis car dealer, in the 9th row.
And making it first round qualifying, top 20 locked in. Bob Seneca and Brad Loney filled the last 2 spots. Only 3/10 separating the top 20 in qualifying.
Dave Sensiba, he sits second in the points. He's come so close to winning, especially at the last 2 races in Michigan. And Tim Sauter, brother of Jay Sauter, starts in the number 55 in row 11.
Brandon Sperling in that Ultra Wheels number 51, and Buddy Schrock in the Big A Auto Parts Chevrolet make up row 12.
Bill Baird, who has done pretty good in late model racing, getting his hands going here on the ASA Tour. Looks like he'll be starting on the inside of the 13th row in the 26. Dennis Berry in the Pontiac Eaglewood Construction Machine starts on row 13.
And starting in the next row will be Russ Gamester, 1989 USAC Midget Champion, alongside of Sammy Pegram, a veteran from Georgia, trying to make his way here in ASA.
On the 15th row, former sprint car driver out of Oklahoma, Billy Turner, and Doug Mayer, former go-kart racer in the number 11 Chevy.
Yale Conley, a vascular surgeon from West Virginia, and Tom Jones, the Zero Hero from Gurnee, Illinois, make up row 16.
And in the 17th row, Mike Kofer, the Southwest Tour's former Rookie of the Year, and Alec Pinsino from Canada in the number 93.
And finally, we see Tim Taylor in the 28 car and Aaron Huff both coming in on provisionals. Huff from nearby New Palestine, Indiana.
Field warming up as we take a look at the race analysis. 36 cars are in the field tonight as we see Yale Conley now diving down pit road. Yale was one of the cars that got in under points. The 3 of Yale Conley and the 0 of Tom Jones got in on points. Kofer and Alec Pinsino and Taylor and Huff all got in on provisionals. And now Conley goes back out onto the track. Track description here, they call it a half mile, Jim, but it's a big half mile. It's a very fast half mile and a daunting half mile at that.
Big sweeping racetrack. The pole position qualifying speeds were well above 113 mile per hour average speed, and they run at the fence. They run at the wall through the turns and on the straightaway. So passing is difficult here, but also momentum is the key phrase when you're talking about racing at IRP and trying to make a pass. You need to carry a lot of speed into the turns.
With more on the 07 machine of Landis, here's Dave Burns.
Well, Ralph and Jim, you know how a little momentum can really help your effort wherever you're racing. Remember how Tony Raines won an ASA race, and then he went and ran a truck race. Well, Jack Landis won a late model race at Michigan Ideal Speedway. Now he comes to race his ASA stock car. Could be a big advantage for him.
Sounds small, but it really can make a big difference. Now, 21 drivers qualified faster than the 1-year-old track record here, and I don't think too many of the drivers were surprised about that. They felt pretty good about qualifying here yesterday.
Mike Eddy ran a 22.252, and Yale Conley was just outside of the top 21 in qualifying, but I don't think the surprise came because it was under sunlight. Some of the guys qualified in the evening hours, but the Goodyear tires are better this year. The ASA cars are fairly similar to last year, but as you see, Yale Conley having some problems here. The cars themselves are getting better. The guys are figuring these machines out. Again, spec built in 1992 for this series. And I'd say that Goodyear tires are the reason why we have new records just about every track we go this season.
You know, Connolly sits right on the front straightaway here as one of the ASA officials talks to him. Looks like he's motioning for a push. One of the safety trucks on its way around to him.
Yale did not make it for the parade laps. They had difficulty starting in Chevrolet. We mentioned the downpour we had. The cars were gridded on the racetrack for the autograph session, which is a common practice before every American Speed Association event. Conley's car was out there. They pushed him towards turn 1 so they could start track drying. The cars were under tarp from the time it started raining to about half an hour ago. Conley's car may have gotten some moisture under the hood, which obviously messes with the distributor and ignition. He's had problems in the pits, and now he just gets refired.
And you saw the two names of the drivers who did not make tonight's race, so we'll step away while they get the field rolling around a little bit more. We'll come back and get this race underway. We're back to IRP, Indianapolis Raceway Park. The lights are off on the pace car, and Rick Beebe has moved to the outside groove, which is a pole winner here. You have the opportunity to choose that. 79 and the 3 have had some problems. Dave Burns?
Mike Hofer's problem is pretty simple, Ralph. Just a radio problem. They have that fixed. They can hear both ways. For Yale Conley, a little bit tougher. They have an ignition box problem. They think it might even be the bypass switch, so it comes and it goes.
And coming to the green flag is the American Speed Association's AC-Delco Challenge Series field as we get set to get 200 laps in here at IRP. We're green. Well, a major contact with the lead duo as they dove down into turn number 1. Look at this great fight back in 3rd position. Make that 4th position. That was Holzhausen on the outside in the 5 car, and he'll take the slot. Rick Beebe leads lap 1.
With this racetrack as green as it is, it was so important on the start for these drivers to find their line, find the single file run for now until we get some rubber built up on the racetrack for two-wide racing.
Connolly slow down the backstretch. He'll be making his way down pit road. We've documented his problems already. No problem up front for Rick Beebe. Scott Hansen runs along in 2nd. Kevin Sawinski is 3rd. Holzhausen is 4th. That white number 8, Mike Garvey, runs in 5th. And Junior Hanley sits in 6th position in car 72.
Last time Junior Hanley was here was in 1983, and that was in a super late model style car. He said the cars here at IRP especially, you can notice a lot of differences between a late model and an ASA car. Great qualifying effort for Junior, though, as again he runs top 6.
Harold Fair is 7th. Mike Eddy is 8th. 9th place is Mike Miller. 10th is Joe Knott. Then it's Landis, Cozolino, Bell, Carlson, St. Amant, Smokestad, and Loney. Now a battle developing for 2nd place between the 52 of Scott Hansen, the white and blue machine with the 52, and the black number 1 of Kevin Sawinski, the winner at Berlin the last race.
One of the 2 drivers that swept the Michigan back-to-back weekend, and the other one was Ohio's Gary St. Amant. So a Minnesota driver and a Ohio driver went into Michigan in the heart of the Wolverine country and stole the wins.
Now this racetrack, Jim, they say is very daunting, especially the line you take coming down into turn number 1. This is racing down the backstretch here as Garvey closes in the fight for 3rd. Down the front straightaway here and all the way into turn number 1. Gary has a lot of speed. There's Mike Miller and Joe Knott fighting for 9th. Miller in the number 18. Knott in the red 48, and Jack Landis in the 07 right behind him. Pontiac being chased by a pair of Fords.
Joe Knott has been fast at this racetrack, yet he has to finish the event, all 200 circuits here.
Look at the fight for 3rd now. To the inside, Mike Garvey. Tony's Pizza, Myers, number 8, gets inside of Kevin Sawinski's black number 1. Now he goes after 2nd as well. Squeezes Sawinski up to the wall. He comes up inside of Hansen, and he'll make the pass.
Mark Garvey was here on one other occasion in a Busch Series race in 1992. Garvey now is running in the 2nd spot. He passed 2 cars there.
Oh, Scott Hansen, problems with the right rear tire going down. You see Mike Eddy, who has already gotten around Junior Hanley, sliding by. Oh, and look at this. Hansen trying to get to the bottom of the racetrack. Didn't know that Harold Fair was there, who was trying to sneak by, and Scott Hansen is trapped up on the upper side of the racetrack. Now he's safely to the bottom, but he didn't make pit road.
And the left rear tire is completely flat on this 52 car, the APCO Racing Products Pontiac. The left rear tire is off the bead. It may even shred and cause further damage on this fiberglass bodywork.
This car, owned by Winston Cup team owner Rick Hendrick and Kenny Schrader, the Winston Cup driver. There you see Conley back out on the racetrack. And there you see that left rear tire of Hansen's scraping on the IRP pavement.
Hansen was dominant here a year ago. He took the lead from Kevin Sawinski with 15 laps remaining with an inside move into turn number 1. He was looking to repeat his domination. The team had tested at Greenville-Pickens Speedway over the week. They found some things out about this Pontiac body that helped them qualify so well, and they thought they were going to back it up with a good run. This flat tire is going to kill his chances at a top 10, much less a top 20 finish tonight.
See, the crew will jack up the right side of the car and go to work on changing those tires on the right side. Meanwhile, a fight for fourth out on the racetrack. Mike Eddy to the inside, the Goodrich Pontiac. On the outside, Steve Holzhaus in the black number 5 will give up the position. Mike Eddy coming like a rocket tonight, Jim, but we've seen that in the last couple of races. He starts deep, he comes flying to the front. The question now becomes, can he stay there? Fight for the lead, Mike Garvey, the white and blue number 8. And Rick Beebe on the outside. And you see the donuts on the inside of Garvey's number 23. Hansen and Garvey got together, remember, on the opening laps. I'm wondering if those donuts we see on the 23, maybe the rubbing of the bodywork caused Hansen to cut that tire down.
Don't know, but we do know that Mike Garvey and Rick Beebe, who coincidentally shared this 23 car a year ago, are battling for the lead here. Rick Beebe led once for 57 laps in the season opener. This is the second race he's led. Mike Garvey won from the rear of the field at a Peach State Speedway that was tricky to some, but he mastered that racetrack. Now Beebe has more laps here than Mike Garvey, so now it's playing out of who's braver at this point in the race.
Lap traffic will be coming into play here momentarily. The first car they'll be catching will be Alec Pinsino.
I mentioned Kevin Sawinski in that black number 1 running in the 3rd position right now. He hated this racetrack. He'd never seen it before his rookie attempt a year ago. Didn't like the joint at all. He had the lead late in the race when Hansen finally made a pass to the inside. He finished runner-up. But if he doesn't like the racetrack, I think it's a racetrack that he'll adapt to well. And you see he's running 3rd there, getting through traffic where some of these drivers might be a little bit tentative through the turns. It may take the entire turn to make the pass.
Challenge for the lead to the inside. Garvey, he's got it. Oh, look at that rear end dancing around on Mike Garvey. Oh,
again.
He's got problems. I bet you there's a tire cut down.
It has to be the rear.
Mike Garvey with a tire down just as he takes the lead has got to dive to pit road. Unbelievable.
Like a dirt track, though, when they make the pass here, it's a long sweeping turn. When they get the pass made, they have to actually pitch it underneath the driver, hold it, and then work that race car. He may have broken the bead just by sheer momentum through the turn.
Mike Garvey splashing his way down pit road. Dave Burns is there. Dave, we need to find out if those tires are getting cut down or if they're just wearing out.
We'll take a look when it comes off of Garvey's car. His right rear tire is the problem. Now, you speculated for Scott Hansen that it might have been the rubbing with Beebe. Well, it was the other side. It was the left rear tire on Hansen, so that wasn't the case. We'll take a look at the tires. Meanwhile, Dr. Yale Conley, they did have that ignition problem. They have direct wired the ignition box now, no bypass switch. They also went under the hood and retightened everything. They think the rain might have hurt them too.
Well, Rick Beebe has dodged 2 major bullets here, with Garvey having problems and Hansen having problems. Those are 2 rocket ships that he was having a battle with. Now it's going to be a question of Kevin Sawinski, and that 88 car is coming awful strong too. There's Hansen back up in there.
Hansen with fresh left side tires, trying to stay in the mix and get a lap back, which will mess with Kevin Sawinski and Mike Eddy's charge. They now currently run 2nd and 3rd on the racetrack. Rick Beebe, that St. Louis gear machine, has checked out to a 20-car length bulge over this trio. Again, Hansen is at least 2 laps down from that flat tire.
Hansen and Garvey are both 2 laps down. Jim, you're exactly right. We also saw Sammy Pegram, the number 92, Dorothy Lynch University of Nebraska sponsored Chevy, having problems slow down the backstretch. He's making his way to pit road. Mike Eddy sits in 3rd position trying to get around Hansen, but Hansen is quick and he needs to stay up front trying to make these laps back.
impeding the progress of Mike Eddie. Hansen does have that fresher left side tire, which will help him, but there's only 21 laps into the race, so Mike Eddie's tires are fairly fresh too. He wants to get around that lap car to get a shot at Sawinski.
Holzhausen is 4th, Junior Handley is 5th, Harold Fair is 6th, and Mike Miller, Joe Knott, Steve Carlson, Cozzolino, Buddy Schrock, Landis, and St. Amant. That's the running order at this point in the race with 23 laps completed. Now Eddie goes to the outside, gets around Hansen. That's not for position, but it helps free up Mike Eddie. And it looked like the back end of Sawinski's car was dancing around a little bit. Let's check in with more on that tire story, Dave.
Trouble on the front stretch, guys.
Big crash on the front straightaway. We've got Ray Skillman, Brandon Sperling, and Dave Sensiba all involved here on the front straightaway, just as Mike Eddie went to make a move on Sawinski.
Heavy contact pretty much off of turn number 4 is where it started. We'll get another look, but Sensiba backed into the damage. Skillman was the first car across the line, but he has some damage on the right rear of that DuPont Automotive Finishes Chevrolet.
And that's a serious blow to Dave Sensiba. He was 2nd in the point standings coming into tonight's race. Skillman, a casual competitor with the ASA Tour, runs the races in the Indiana area at Salem and Anderson and here at IRP. Let's watch this again, see if we can figure out what happened. There's Sensiba back in the back with the white and red number 6.
Bill Baird to the very bottom there in the black and orange car, and you see Skillman get together there with the 46 of Gamester. Gamester goes by Cleveland, but Skillman's spun car blocks the racetrack. Tim Sauter gets by, but Sensiba meets up with the rear there in that 6 car, and Brandon Sperling was on the brakes hard right behind Sensiba's spun machine.
Everybody checked up behind, and that stacked them all up, and look at Sensiba sliding right into the back of Skillman. Heavy impact.
Took out at least the right rear suspension components and rear end for the 6 car. You see the flat left rear tire from the spin.
And debris on the back straightaway. That could be from one of those cars trying to limp back around to the pit area. Well, we'll take a break while they clean things up here at IRP. And we'll try to get back racing here momentarily. Stay with us. We'll be right back to IRP. Some of the diehard fans who weathered the storm here at IRP so we could bring them the Speedway Starvin Marvin 200, presented by Wins. Cleanup crews out on the racetrack here, picking up the debris. Brandon Sperling pitting near the turn 4 area.
Narrowly escaped any damage, but as we see as the 51 car come around the Blizzard Motorsports Chevrolet, the right front fender is missing. There was some black fiberglass on the backstretch. They've gotten out the duct tape to get that fender, or the front nose taped to the hood so it won't flap, because it is a very high-speed racetrack, and that may cause a problem because at this racetrack, when you drop below a competitor to make a pass, there is some rubbing. It's not expected, but it is a possibility. Without that fender there to protect the right front wheel, it's similar to an open wheel situation. If they touch wheels, that equals problems.
Tim Sauter also visiting pit lane on the 55. Let's check in with Dave Burns.
Well, those tires that went down earlier, guys, Mike Garvey, a puncture. And then also on Scott Hansen, a puncture. Get this, the hole was very, very similar. There may have been the same piece of very sharp debris out there. They were saying sheet metal, something that was very sharp, that punctured both of those tires. Now after this wreck, who knows what'll be lying out there. Hopefully they'll get it cleaned up. They were really surprised, though, because of all the rain. They thought the whole track would be very, very clean, and they were surprised with those punctures.
The rain was so strong it could have washed the Queen Mary off of this racetrack. Roger waiting to throw the green when we come back. Roger, hang on with us. Well, the weather hasn't affected Rick Beebe's performance so far. His Pontiac Grand Prix out front, the number 23. He's gotten a couple of donuts on the side of the car, but that's about it, Jim. He's been smooth sailing up front.
He out-qualified Scott Hansen by 4/100ths of a second to earn the pole position. We mentioned he started outside of row number 1. In the ASA rulebook, it states that if the driver that wins the pole position elects to use the outside groove, it is their choice to start either on the outside or the inside. Where we've seen this in the past, because this racetrack is similar only because the line is at the very top of the racetrack to Salem Speedway. Last year when 96 champion Tony Raines won the pole, he elected also to start outside of row number 1. We saw the donuts on the left side of the 23 car. That was from the initial run to turn number 1, the drag race that Beebe won over second qualifier Scott Hansen.
Buddy Schrock in the Big A Auto Parts, number 35, has made his way down pit road. He's got a problem with the window net. They're having trouble keeping that in place.
But he was running 11th, and he also finished 5th here a year ago. Now sitting 12th is Gary St. Amant. We showed you all the cars that separate him, Gary St. Amant, from Rick Beebe. He's had 3 pole positions, but tonight, Ralph, he qualified 16th.
Gary picking up the first ever ASA win for car owner Bud Gibbon last 2 weekends ago in Tri-City Speedway in Michigan, Auburn, Michigan. And more on Dave Sensipa's number 6, Dave.
Yeah, Ralph, that car is very, very messed up. The frame rail in the rear on the right-hand side is moved over to the left about 1.5 feet. He really bent it hard. That moved the fuel cell over, crimped the line out to the fuel intake, so they can't put any more fuel in it right now. They're still trying to get the thing put back together and get Dave out there to make up some laps and keep in the points race. And remember, this was the only guy in the ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series who had completed every lap this year, 100%, until tonight.
Well, he's got to get those points. Hard to come by and very valuable. Don't want to lose any. He's going to lose some, that's for sure. Pace light cars are off.
Dennis Berry also making a very late pit stop in the Randy Hostler Pontiac as he speeds down pit lane. The leader weaving back and forth. We mentioned the wet racetrack. It's now dried off, and we'll see if Beebe can get back and get a lead on Sawinski like he enjoyed 20 lengths or so. And
Mike Eddy right behind him as we go back to green on lap 32. Make that 33 as the scoreboard changes.
ASA does have a single file restart rule. See the cars now stringing down the backstretch, and Sawinski already looks low.
Challenging for the lead, looks low and moves back up high.
You'll see 3 distinctive lines throughout the evening, especially in turns 3 and 4. Turns 1 and 2 is a more hairy entrance, which really shakes these cars up going through the turns side by side. So we may see some more passing. Sawinski gave a look to the inside. Down the backstretch, maybe the start of a pass, but it will take to the front stretch to complete it.
Pontiac's running 1, 2, and 3. Ford hangs on to the 4th position. And Mike Eddy starting to feel a little racy back there in 3rd. Starts looking to the inside of Sawinski.
There have been 17 races competed under the ASA sanction here at IARP, and Mike Eddy's competed in all 17. He has 9 races. He led a bunch of laps here. 529 laps in 9 races for Mike Eddy as he wants to get to the point and add to that record total.
Cuts down, coming off a 2. Here comes the 7-time champ up alongside of Sawinski. Close to rubbing as they come off a 2. He holds to the bottom into 3. He's got a good run on him, powering by as they come off of turn number 4. Mike Eddy will take over 2nd place. Sawinski, you talked about him feeling uncomfortable here at this racetrack, and Jim, I talked to him about it yesterday. He still, even though he's running strong here, is nervous about racing here. And that's not anything that talks bad about Kevin Sawinski. It's just the fact that this is a crazy racetrack to be driving on. It's a very difficult track to feel comfortable with. Back here in 9th position, Jack Landis in the 07. Gary St. Amant in the 7, the Wins Machine. And Bob Seneker, car number 84, the Bluebird, on his way up towards the front. That's the 13th position car.
These guys have a long way to go. Rick Beebe and Mike Eddy are about a half a lap ahead of them. They're coming out for turn number 4. The leaders are in turn 2.
Cozzolino, the McDonald's number 40, in front of Landis, the red car, and in front of him, Joe Knott, the other red Ford, the number 48 machine. Look at Seneker coming up, fighting for 12th now with St. Amant. Giving each other plenty of room.
Sawn at the wheel, you see Seneker's right hand actually pulling the wheel back to the right as the banking couldn't hold that blue 84.
Lane Automotive, J Automation, Mr. Gasket, Mechanics Wear, Ford number 84, and Bob Seneker. Back up front while this fight continues back in the back. Here comes Mike Eddy, the Goodwrench Service Pontiac to the inside. The black number 88, stalking the leader. Boy, Rick Beebe, he's doing a masterful masterful job. The St. Louis Gear Royal Machine Pontiac is really hooked up tonight, and he's doing a great job behind the wheel. Alec Pizzano goes down another lap.
Beebe is yet to be headed here. His most serious challenge came from Mike Garvey, who cut a tire down as he had made a complete pass for the lead in turns 1 and 2. Did not hold it for that lap, so Rick Beebe, the only race leader thus far, Mike Eddy to the inside to make that a different story.
Mike gets another good run off the inside of turn number 2. That's how he set up Sawinski. He was able to hang on to this bottom groove all the way through 3 and 4. Let's see if he can do it again. Still there, trying to get the drive off of 4. Beebe's got him by half a car length. Good, clean, tight racing as we come to the line. Beebe holds on to the lead, but by just a hair. Side by side again as they come off the trickery, slippery turn number 2.
Junior Hanley now in the mix in 72, gets underneath Kevin Sawinski. He now sits third in that white Kendall Oil Chevrolet.
Junior Hanley trying to get up here and fight for the lead. We haven't seen Junior up challenging for the lead much this year. He's done it plenty of times with the American Speed Association, but not yet this season. Boy, Eddie keeps getting a good run at him, Jim, but he can't finish him off. Now, look at the drive he gets through turns 3 and 4, and Junior Hanley comes up inside. We have a new leader.
As Mike Eddy got the lead, Rick Beebe had to lift off the gas pedal just a bit. 72 Junior Hanley to the inside there was trying to get second. Now he'll have to file back in, but momentum is certainly a key here with Beebe just lifting a bit as Mike Eddy came across to take the lead position. Beebe checked up and luckily hung on to second.
Looking for his 3rd career win here. Mike Eddy trying to drive away in the Goodwrench Service Pontiac.
He won 3 races in 1995. This was one of them here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. He came back last season, did Mike Eddy. Set a new track record, which was broken by 21 of tonight's competitors, as we talked about earlier.
Buddy Schrock in front of Mike now will be the next car that Mike will try to put a lap down. Sammy Pegram visiting pit road once again in the number 92. Struggling. Dave Sensma, the number 6, second place pointsman, still sitting on pit road. And Mike Garvey visiting pit road once again in the 8 car. See if we can find out what's wrong with him. Dave Burns is there. Dave, what's up?
Well, I want to update you on Dennis Berry and on Buddy Schrock. Ralph Moore, flat tires. Both had a tire go down. For Dennis Berry, the problem is even worse. He has no brakes.
Not a fun place to be dealing with no brakes. Mike Eddy is in the middle of a big pack. The Black & Decker number 79 and Mike Gopher on the outside. And Buddy Schrock, there you see the Big A Auto Parts number 35 just in front of him, the red and blue car.
And the car we talked about without brakes, the 15 of Dennis Berry may have held up Buddy Schrock and really brought Mike Eddy to the back end of the Big A Auto Parts Chevrolet. Buddy Schrock finished 5th here a year ago, was looking for a better run tonight.
There you see Pegram on the bottom going down a lap. And Mike trying to work his way around Schrock, completes the pass and makes his way down the front straightaway. A lot of people are unsure of the setups of their race cars because of the rain and the weather conditions, but boy, up front, Jim, these guys don't seem to be affected by it at all.
With the sun going down, Dave Burns mentioned a loose racetrack. I believe these guys set up for a tight condition. We see Mike Garvey trying to get back up to speed, and that whitening brake goes down for yet another lap. But as they run this racing line, a lot of cars are running higher than I anticipated. I thought they were actually going to create a lower groove into turn number 1, but Rick Beebe setting the pace certainly kept it up out near the wall.
Smoke coming out of the 0 of Tom Jones as he goes down a lap, and Brandon Spurley gives up a lap in the Blizzard number 51.
Tom Jones had borrowed a motor from Alec Pinsino. He blew a motor just after qualifying. And Jonesy now experiencing problems in the 0 car.
Mike Eddy continues to lead here with 53 laps in the books at Indianapolis Raceway Park. They're a little wet, but they're enjoying the racing as it's heating up at IRP. The Speedway Starvin Marvin 200 at IRP, presented to you by Wins, is working lap 59. Leader is Mike Eddy, and this battle raging deeper into the field is between Steve Holzhausen and car number 5, the number 81 of Harold Fair, who cuts to the inside, and Mike Miller, the number 18, and they're fighting for 5th position.
Steve Holtzhausen has only run here on one occasion. He finished 13th here in 1994. Harold Fair's 12 starts, including 2 top 5 finishes. So if you want to go with experience, go with Harold Fair's CarQuest AC-Delco Pontiac. But Steve Holtzhausen was fast in practice. He was quick in qualifying. He had a lap he thought he could have done a little bit better with in the 5 car. He did qualify 6th, but he's looking for a good run tonight, trying to get that monkey off of his back in the structural transport Ford.
The blue number 84 of Bob Seneker runs in 8th, and Jim, he started 19th, so he's been flying up through the field.
And he goes to the inside now of Mike Miller in that AFC 1000 Pontiac. Seneker, one of 6 Fords in the field. He's looking for his first victory this year as well.
Speaking of the Fords, Brett Bell, the Wunderbar number 56, is getting ready to switch to a Pontiac. So there'll be one less, and they're almost extinct in this division right now, though.
What that will involve also is a motor change. The Ford bodies that have to come with a Ford engine. When you switch to GM, whether it be a Pontiac or a Chevrolet, you can run any GM engine. Buicks and Chevrolets are the featured V6s in the AC-Delco Challenge Series. So that'll be a different power range, a lot of different weight situations for Brett Bell to adjust to mid-season.
The Chevy engine, by the way, seems to be the quicker and stronger power plant of the GM makes. Look at Harold Fair to the bottom. The CarQuest AC-Delco number 81, the white car, working the inside groove on Steve Holtzhausen. And now Mike Miller sliding up in the AFC 1000 Pontiac. The red number 18 will take over 6th position if Harold Fair can't get a good drive, and he can't.
Just that quick. The outside line has been worked in better, and Harold Fair losing position here. Seneker now looking for 8th.
Whoa!
Harold made his own room there.
Oh, yeah, he just slammed himself back up in the between them. Seneker now, he'll drop to the bottom. He'll make that bottom group work. He'll pick off 2 cars. What a strong move by Bob Seneker. A sneaker making his way to the front of the field here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Cuts back down again. Look at him, all the way down to the white dotted lines. Up the front straightaway for 5th position. Bob Seneker has picked up 14 spots.
And look at Mike Miller hanging to the inside. He took a hard left in turns 1 and 2 to stay underneath that black 5 of Holtzhausen. Mike Miller trying to climb into the top 6. He qualified in the 10th position.
Has it by a nose there, halfway up alongside of him, and now he'll take the position. Look at the fight for the lead. Mike Eddy, the 88 car, is your race leader. The yellow number 23 runs in 2nd as they go past Doug Mayer and the Black & Decker 79 at Gopher. Dennis Berry getting past the number 15. The leaders go down the backstretch.
Next on their target list to put a lap down is Tim Sauter in the Leo Motorsports Ware Chevrolet Pontiac. Came into this race 9th in points. First time at the racetrack, he said the car was extremely soft on the right side. They were working with springs throughout yesterday's practice and qualifying. They had a problem with that first incident here and have now gone down a lap in that number 55.
With almost 69 laps completed, 20 cars are on the lead lap. Eddy, Beebe, Sawinski, Hanley, and Holtzhausen in the top 5. Seneker, Mike Miller, Fair, Carlson, and Knott rounding out in the top 10. Peter Cozzolino runs in 11. Look at this. That's Holtzhausen in the 5, brushing the wall as he comes off at turn number 4.
Little white paint above the right rear wheel for that 5 car. It'll be easy to spot, but Holtzhausen, I think, is just happy he hung on that one. And talk about running at the edge. You're only about a foot away from the wall for the majority of this lap here, as we see Eddy now coming down off of turn number 2, about 10, 15 feet off the wall, down to the backstretch.
Billy Turner losing a lap to 58. We saw 2 cars brushing the wall in qualifying, Sensiba and Mike Garvey yesterday.
Garvey actually hit the entire turns 3 and 4 wall. That was on his 2nd lap. His 1st lap was good enough for 3rd starting position.
Oh, we got it. Pyle sliding off at turn number 2. And the 12 car, Robbie Pyle, the Dick's Auto Parts number 12, struggling here tonight. A beautiful looking race car. And he hit hard.
Robbie Piles, a sign painter by trade, and he also does the not only the decals for his race car, but everything for Gary St. Amant and the Wins team. Fellow Columbus, Ohio driver, and Robbie making infrequent starts as an ARCA Series Pro 4 modified veteran, and really has had some good runs. He was involved with Gary St. Amant in an accident at Jennerstown Speedway, where Gary actually was stuck on top of his car, and unfortunately for Robbie Pyle, that impact may have taken him out of this 200-lap affair at IRP. Off of turn number 2.
Oh, and the hard hit on the driver's side. You can see Robbie on the inside of the car getting slapped around in there pretty good as the Dick's Auto Parts Pontiac makes heavy contact. And there's Peter Cozzolino's number 40, who I believe will be credited with the lead at this point as Mike Eddy and BB and everybody else dive down pit road. Well, Cozzolino actually had a problem.
Wow.
Here it is. Look at this.
Heavy impact in turns 1 and 2.
I thought he was going to be credited with the lead because he was up near the top 10. Well, Mike Eddy's on pit road, Dave.
The leader's in, the leader's out. They changed right side tires. Nearly a collision with Sineker. Sineker slams on the brakes. That was very close. Here's one other thing. As Mike Eddy looked over to the K-Tech engineer on site here tonight, he gave a big thumbs up and a smile.
Likes the way that K-Tech motor is working here tonight. K-Tech powering Johnny Benson to a championship in 1993. Might be getting Mike Eddy a win here in 1997. Well, it's another big weekend in motorsports, and to get you caught up on everything that's happened, make sure you tune into Race Day. Rick Benjamin has all the highlights Sunday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern right here on TNN Motorsports. There is Mike Eddy, the Good Wrench Service Pontiac number 88. And look at this near collision he had as he exited pit road. Comes out, and Bob Sineker, his old arch rival, right there. Back to green. Junior Hanley, the number 72, the white number 72, the Kendall Oil sponsorship, is the leader of the race as we go back to green.
He was the third car in line at the restart there, Ralph. He works under Doug Mayer's No Touch Aqua Splash Chevrolet. Mayer now going back, I believe, 2 laps down, trying to stay ahead of the leader there for the time being. Mike Garvey's the next car to go a lap down to the leader, Junior Hanley, who led already this year at Jennerstown Speedway, but the last time he ran full-time in ASA was 1990. His last win in the series came in July at the Milwaukee Mile.
And problems for Dave Sensiba. He still sits on pit road, Jim, and it's costing him many, many laps and many, many points. Remember, he came into the event second in the point standings. Cozzolino seen the rear end of the McDonald's number 40 get a little loose as Kevin Sawinski sticks the nose of his Pontiac up underneath him. Mike Eddy to the inside in the number 88 as we've got a yellow. We've got Russ Gamester over in turn 4 with a problem in car number 46. Heavy contact on that car, and you can see the damage to the Monte Carlo.
Gamester has a ton of laps here in a USAC Midget, which is a smaller open-wheel car. Russ making infrequent starts in ASA would like to run the series full-time pending sponsorship. He and his brother George put this vehicle together.
Apparently the rear end let go, and it caused him, he'd been fighting it all night long, about the last 40 laps or so, and finally gave way on it. Third caution coming out here now on lap 81, and Dave Burns has more on the Robbie Pyle story.
Yeah, Ralph, when he exited turn 2 and got sent into the wall, the rear end or the transmission locked on him. That's what sent him around. He is okay. I can see Russ Gamester moving as well. He's fine.
This gives a chance for the leader, or for the lead cars anyway, to come down for their second trip down pit lane under their last caution. Mike Eddy and Kevin Sawinski came down and changed right side tires. Now we see them making left side changes, Ralph.
And Sawinski's crew getting Kevin out first. And Mike will come up behind him.
Only 2 tires allowed to be changed under any caution or under any circumstance. It tracks less than 1 mile length for the AC-Delco Challenge Series. Keeps the cost down and also keeps things interesting on pit lane where you don't have to be running 4 tires, and some of the racetracks we run are pretty tight on pit lane.
Mike apparently been doing some races. You can see the donut on the side of his car. And Junior Hanley leads them as everybody else gets ready to dive down pit road. We'll be back for more from IRP after this. A lot of action already for our world-famous Bow Bumps here in the early stages of this ASA race. Russ Gamester on the hook. Junior Hanley leading it. Mike Garvey has picked up 1 lap. He is now 3 laps down in the number 8 car. He was rocket fast early on. He has made another trip down pit road, though, so we'll see how that affects him. Apparently, he's still just 3 laps down, and Junior out front. It's been a while since Junior's really had a chance to win one of these ASA races.
This season has not been Junior Hanley's style. He's a 3-time ACT champion. He's used to winning a ton of races a given year. He only raced once last year. Got a deal going with Ray Skillman for this season. He'll be running each and every race in that Kendall Oil Chevrolet. But looking at how he's run this year, he finished 29th with a brake problem, 29th with an engine problem the first 2 races of the year. He scored a 10th at Pensacola. We thought he was turning the corner. Then he finished up with a 19th, 18th, and had handling problems last race at Berlin and dropped back to 33rd in the running order. So this is certainly his best run of the year.
In Canada, the most famous last name in open wheel racing is Villeneuve. In stock car racing, it's Hanley. That is the level of prestige that Junior Hanley has in the motorsports arena, the country of Canada. And in the northern United States, of course, Junior has come down and raced sporadically in various forms of racing. The ACT Tour, as you mentioned, looped down into many parts of the northern states of this country, and now running with us full-time in the American Speed Association. Junior making a great addition to the AC-Delco Challenge Series. Pontiac pace car lights are off, and a quick update from Dave Burns.
You guys saw Tom Jones smoking earlier. He's been chasing motor problems all weekend long. He's now running a borrowed motor from Alec Pinsino, oiling problems with that as well. They're keeping a close eye on that. Russ Gamester had something lock up in the back end, and that threw him into the outside wall. So that was Russ's problem. He is okay, although he did take a bit more of a shot than we thought at first.
To the inside of Cozzolino. Mike Miller coming with him. That's for second place. And now third place for Miller. Doug Mayer, the 11 car, the no-touch car, is laps down. 1 lap down. And now Rick Beebe comes up inside of Cozzolino, taps him in the right rear quarter panel, and you can see how Cozzolino's McDonald's Thunderbird started to skirt out from underneath him.
I would say Rick Beebe didn't think he was given enough room to challenge the 40 car of Cozzolino off the turn.
Doug Mayer does a nice job in the no-touch Menards car, moving to the bottom, allowing the faster cars by on the upper groove.
This is only Mayer's 14th stock car race. He's running for Rookie of the Year. He's currently trailing Steve Carlson and Tim Sauter in those standings, but getting valuable track time here with the leaders. Again, he only is 1 lap down.
Trying to figure out where to go as Beebe moves past Cozzolino. He got hung up on the outside. Junior Hanley, Bob Seneker, Mike Miller, Rick Beebe, Cozzolino, the top 5. Olshausen runs in 6th. Brad Loney is 7th. Joey Nod is 8th. And Gary St. Amant now 9th. Landis is 10th. And Bill Barrett running in 11th. Having a pretty good run. The Speedy Pop car. Good fight up front with these 3. Hanley, Seneker, and Miller.
As we watch this battle, 18 cars are still on lead lap. Running in 12th is Tim Sauter. 13th is Ted Smokestad, who's had to tape his nose down to the hood. The hood was flapping. Kevin Sawinski, Mike Eddy running currently 14th and 15th. trying to make their way back through after pit stops, as is Steve Carlson, Brett Bell, and Harold Fair. All those cars are on lead lap.
3 true veterans leading this one. Boy, you don't get much more veteran status than these 3 drivers up front.
And at this racetrack, experience does pay, but veteran drivers like Dick Trickle, Butch Miller dominated the win column here at IRP under the ASA banner. Alan Kowicki scored a pole here in 1984 running in the ASA series. This track certainly takes quite a bit of finesse as well. We mentioned the high speeds, but keeping the tires underneath these cars. We've seen many sprint car races contested here with actually smoke the right rear tire if they get too much momentum and not enough speed, shall we say, into the turns. They actually have to smoke the right rear tire to keep it underneath them. Talking to the drivers and Howdy Thomas, the crew chief for Mike Eddy, they mentioned the tires were not a problem tonight. Goodyear has brought an excellent tire for this race here at IRP.
Seneker making his moves on Hanley, trying to set him up. And Dave Burns, you got more on this tire story tonight?
Well, actually, Jim mentioned the tires. Lisa Smokestad is a tire specialist for Bill Baird, and you found some blistering down here. Show us on the tire.
Yeah, we're having a little problem blistering our right rear tires. Actually, everyone up and down pit road is having a problem with it.
What can you do, Lisa, in terms of, what do you change, the stagger, or do you have to change something else on the car?
Actually, there's really not a lot we can do with the pressures we're running. It's right where they need to be. I think we're just running too soft of a compound.
And guys, that cutting problem that we had earlier, another mysterious right front from Mike Garvey's car, it had the same little crescent-shaped cut on it. So there's some piece of metal still running around out there causing tire problems.
The American Speed Association does run a spec tire. It's a Goodyear Eagle Racing bias ply tire. Costs about $100 a corner, and Goodyear does decide which compounds the teams will run at which racetracks. Bob Seneker trying to keep the nose of his Thunderbird wedged up underneath Junior Hanley's Chevy. No step away. 96 laps completed. Junior Hanley still leading it here at Indianapolis Raceway Park over Bob Seneker and Mike Miller and Rick Beebe. Those are the top 4 cars you see right there on your screen. Junior Hanley has now moved into 17th on the all-time career lap leaders with the American Speed Association, moving in front of 1996 AC-Delco Challenge Series champion Tony Raines.
At the halfway point, we did have three leaders thus far in the event. Those include Rick Beebe, the pole sitter, Mike Eddy, and 72 of Junior Hanley. But now Bob Seneker may want to be the 4th leader of the race. 18 Mike Miller and 23 of Beebe are close behind in 3rd and 4th.
Look how Bob really squared off that turn 2, trying to get a good run down the back straightaway. Junior couldn't get it all put together. You know, we should give a tip of the ASA visor to Mike Lewis, the general manager here at IRP, and the entire IRP staff did a great job of getting this track dried off as quick as they could and allow us to go racing. Major problems with PBR on Mike Garvey.
That is percent of body remaining. That right front fender peeled back on that car.
We got Landis spinning coming off at turn number 2. The 07 will bring out the 4th yellow of the night. Junior Hanley will lead the field slowly across the line.
Landis did race here a year ago. He qualified 6th, but finished just 33rd in his only run here at IRP in the Maystow. Linedecker Excavating number 07. You see damage there on the front end, Ralph. That is seriously wall contact on the inside as he spun it around off of turn number 2.
He pulls the quick release on the steering wheel and will climb out of Noah Yoder's number 07. Had a nice run tonight, too. Qualified pretty good, sitting 9th at the start of this race.
Junior Hanley had not pitted to this point in the race. He went 107 laps without coming down pit lane. He assumed the lead on pit stops at lap 73, and he now brings Mike Miller and the rest of the lead lap cars that elect to pit down pit lane.
Well, and he's past the halfway point. You think he'll try to go all the way?
Could be a one-stop race, right sides only for the 72. Jeff Brown and Kevin McCurdy doing the decision-making in that pit.
Dave Burns.
Junior Hanley's crew goes to work on the right side. This is the first time they've had to hustle with Junior in the lead. Car owner Ray Skillman looks on as they go after it here on the right side. Fuel going in as well. They'll try to pull him out. Mike Miller beats him out as well. A couple other cars getting away, but it looks like a clean pit stop for Junior Hanley.
just about everybody beating him out, actually, and they lost a lot of time on that pit stop.
Junior Hanley has some of the crew that Ray Skillman had assembled for his ASA efforts. Some of the crew members, including Chris Roth and Kevin McCurdy, have come over from the Tony Roper, John Childs operation from a year ago. Roper finished 10th in points and is now running the truck series, so these guys came on to help Junior Hanley.
Mike Miller, 5 career victories on the ASA Tour. We'll be right back. Commercial transportation for this broadcast has been provided by Ryder, the official transportation company of Opryland. Bob Seneker continues to lead here at Indianapolis Raceway Park, and there is Jack Landis getting towed off as he still sits inside the 07. All sorts of damage to that car, but the Beaver mascot has survived on the side of the 07.
Junior Hanley has come back down pit lane. We see that he is pitting right behind Mike Garvey's car on pit lane, and they go to the right side.
Junior down pit road.
Now, we mentioned he lost, 6 spots in the pits on that interaction with the lead lap cars pitting. I believe they may have just wanted to check the lug nuts on the right front. They didn't look in the fender well in the 72.
Well, maybe because they're taking their time with this whole deal, maybe they aren't planning on going all the way.
Maybe.
Maybe Dave Burns can find out for us.
He went 107 laps on the fuel. Fuel will last longer than the tires here.
Dave, are they going to go all the way?
I don't know. I can't tell you that, Ralph, but I can tell you that Junior Hanley did only have 3 lug nuts on the right front. They brought him back in and put 2 more on. I want to tell you also that Aaron Huff and Tim Taylor had motor problems. That's what put them out tonight. And Sammy Pegram had a horrible handling problem. They parked the Dorothy Lynch salad dressing Chevrolet for the night.
That was Mike Garvey's number 8. You saw them doing work on. And Bob Seneker, well, he's got more career victories than anybody with 82. He's won more money than anybody, well over the $1 million mark. He's got 48 career poles. He leads everybody in that category. And he has won the 1990 AC-Delco Challenge Series Championship. I think the only thing that is surprising in Bob Seneker's career, Jim, to me, is that he's only won 1 championship on this tour. It's amazing that he hasn't won more than that.
And this season, Bob Seneker goes into every season with high hopes, and unfortunately, this is only the 3rd time he's led. This is the 21st lap all year. Seneker has been at the point in a series he dominates here at IRP. He has 6 victories on this racetrack, last one coming in 1984.
Well, now with more on Junior's pit strategy, here's Dave Burns.
Well, I'm going to give you a quick update from Terry Garrison, the Rick Beebe crew chief. Rick was running really well earlier. Terry said they would like to only make 1 stop, so they may go all the way to the end. But that tire blistering problem, Ralph, that's what we're going to have to keep an eye on down here.
Sitting in 3rd, that black number 5. Rick Beebe, the yellow 23, running in 2nd. Seneker, the 84 car, out front, trying for victory number 83. Beebe to the inside, sliding around in turn number 2. You saw the wheels cock sideways, not lifting up the throttle, just keeping it planted to the floor.
And you saw that attempt being made. It'll take Beebe a good lap or 2 to get back up to challenge Seneker. Now it makes me a liar for the 2nd time tonight as he goes right back to the underside of Seneker up a 2.
Gary St. Amand, who started 15th, runs in 4th. There you see the wins, number 7. Back in 4th position, the orange and black car.
Impressive run for Steve Holtzhausen, currently in 3rd in that black number 5. This is his kind of racetrack. He can roll in the corners. He's a very smooth driver. A lot of guys get hard on the gas, roll in the corner, hard on the brakes. Holtzhausen is one of the smoother transition drivers. And yesterday in qualifying, he proved with a 6th place qualifying effort he likes this racetrack, and it certainly suits his style. Running in the 3rd position now is Holtzhausen. He pitted on lap 74, along with the other 3 drivers he's running with. We'll see if he wants to go the rest of the way. He came in for right side only.
St. Amand diving to the bottom of Holtzhausen. The fight for 3rd. Behind them is Harold Bear. Yellow flag is out as we stack him up with Scott Hansen.
Whoa!
Sauter. Oh, Doug Mayer comes into the back of Sauter with nowhere to go, and Billy Turner in that incident as well. They had been sitting still for quite a while when Doug Mayer came flying into the scene.
One thing Scott Hansen told me, he said, at this racetrack, because of the speeds that they're carrying into the turns, when something happens, it's very hard to avoid it. Wads up a lot of equipment. You see Hansen's left front there. That's the air duct to the brakes.
Yeah, and we saw Sauter move. Oh, and a fire erupts on Sauter's car. Fire in the fuel tank area of Sauter's car, and he is out.
Doug Mayer now trying to extricate himself
here
as well.
He comes out of it quickly, and look at that thing go up in flames.
Doug Mayer's out and okay in the 11 car.
They quickly respond and extinguish the flames on the Wares number 55 of Tim Sauter. That Chevy suffering major damage. Doug Mayer sitting along the wall as you see one of the emergency crew people checking on him as well. His Chevrolet, the no-touch Menards number 11, suffering major damage as well as he slid in. It looked like as they came into the scene that he just ran out of room and thought maybe the outside was going to be the way to go, and it
Because
wasn't.
it is so tight here, we won't know unless we do get a replay of it. But when Mayer came in there, he was on the outside. It looked like of another car. It being that tight, he may have elected to go high, and it was completely blocked in the racetrack. He nailed the Wares logo right there in the left rear of Tim Sauter. Sauter came into this race 9th in points in his rookie effort. That Leo Motorsports team certainly is a rookie team with Terry Evans at the helm of crew chiefing responsibilities. Long-time short track crew chief, but first time for an ASA crew chief, and first time for Tim Sauter to run regularly with the ASA.
Here's a look at the replay. Now watch this, and we'll see what happens here.
Billy Turner and Peter Cozzolino make contact there. Cozzolino in that red and yellow number 40. Turner gets sideways in the silver 58. Hansen locks him up. You can see him locked up already. Buddy,
Oh, look at Schrock.
whoa, just got by.
And Tim had nowhere to go, Sauter.
Right.
Now look at this. That's a good 5 seconds later, and in comes Mayer. Now watch the fire erupt.
You see Mayer hit right behind the wheel. Fuel cell's located to be between the wheels in the rear of the car, and enough heat and one little spark set off the fuel that spilled out of the fuel cell.
Boy,
Very rarely do we see a fire like this from fuel cells in ASA.
And it didn't take Tim Sauter long to get out of the car. Brother of Jay Sauter, who spent many years on the ASA Tour. And of course, Jim Sauter, his father, who also spent many years running American
Jim had some
Speed
good runs here in ASA at IRP.
Let's go to Dave Burns.
Yeah, we're with Tim Sauter. He's climbed out now, and you've had a chance to survey the damage. Are you okay?
I'm all right. The car's messed up pretty good. A bunch of guys got together there, and I was on the outside, and I got stuck out there, and I thought I was going to be okay, but I got jammed real hard from the rear, and it punctured the fuel cell.
Were you bracing when Doug hit you, or had you relaxed by that time?
I was pretty much relaxed. I didn't know he was coming like that. I thought everybody had enough room, they'd have seen it, but you know what? I feel sorry for Ed O'Hilsky and the whole Leo Motorsports crew. We're Chevrolet. We'll be back next week. We'll get them then.
Yeah, they're having a tough night tonight. Remember, Tim was chasing Steve Carlson for those Rookie of the Year honors.
Well, Sauter has not won the ASA's Rookie of the Year title. Tim trying to become the first one to do so. 120 laps down, 80 to go. Stay with us. Throttle stomping, nose making, noise making. I was wondering, nose making. I didn't know what I was trying to say there. Racing in Indy. I like that. That's a good sign. And guess who they're cheering for?
Do we call them killer bees?
These maniacs come everywhere. Sawinski has got some of the most dedicated fans going. They all wear those big bumblebee hats and the big #1 signs, and they really have fun cheering for their driver, Kevin Sawinski, who's having a pretty good night here tonight. Bob Seneker fans got a lot to cheer for. The Bluebird is up front leading this one with 122 of the scheduled 200 laps completed. Now Bob drives a Ford. In second place is a Pontiac. And there is a third make of car in this series, and we had an opportunity to take a look at the 3 makes of cars competing on the AC-Delco Challenge Series Tour in '97. There are 3 makes of cars competing on the ASA Tour in '97, the Pontiac Grand Prix, the Chevy Monte Carlo, and the Ford Thunderbird. Now, the shapes of these bodies radically affect how these cars perform, starting with the front.
Keyword is downforce here, Ralph. We notice the Chevrolet below the bumper is very flat. It forces air around the car, and then where the headlights go, it comes on up top. Now look at the Pontiac. The differences are dramatic in the nose from the top of the bumper over the hood. It creates a lot more downforce for the Pontiac because the nose is getting the air cleaner. On the Ford here, we see more of a bullet-shaped nose where actually the wind is going around and over the top of the Ford Thunderbird nose.
On the rear end of the cars, the key area is the deck lid from the base of the windshield to the rear spoiler.
Chevrolet has the advantage there. 23 inches of space between that window and that spoiler. On the Pontiac you see of Mike Eddy here, it's only 21 inches, so there's a lot less air to work on that back deck lid to keep the rear tires down. On the Ford, there's only 19 inches between the window and the spoiler. See Bob Sennekrest to run a lot more spoiler, more straight up in the air. It's nearly 90-degree angle to get more air and more downforce on the back end of the Ford.
Now there is the Ford that is competing in the Thunderbird body here in 1997. Of course, the question now becomes, Jim, what will Fords be racing in ASA in the coming seasons? We've been hearing about how the Thunderbird is going to be stopped in production. Will it be a Taurus? Will it be a Mustang? Who knows? Nobody knows at this point. Now with the AC-Delco Challenge Series, they usually give them a year to transfer things over. Remember when Chevrolet switched to the Monte Carlo, we still saw some Luminas for a year. They're grandfathered in for a year. So if Ford changes here at the end of 97, we could feasibly see Thunderbirds as the car of choice again in 98, and maybe not a new Ford body until 99, actually.
And keep in mind, in the American Speed Association, these cars are actually molded from showroom stock cars. So if they did go to a Ford Taurus or another line of Ford, this car would literally be what a Ford Taurus is in the showroom. That car is a very sleek, slim car, but if you noticed on the new 1997 Ford Tauruses, there's very short trunk area, which would be a big problem for these ASA teams.
Absolutely. You can, folks, literally take the templates, put them on the race car, put them on the street car right off the showroom floor, and it matches identically. So as you said, that Taurus would really be an interesting thing in ASA short track racing. Dave Burns?
On the hook, and Billy will have to see that thing get towed away. And actually, Billy, we all thought this was your first car when we saw the original paint scheme, the orange and silver, but this is actually a newer car that you guys had built up, and this is even more of a shame that you're out.
Yeah, this is a new car John Harrison built over in Georgia for us, and the car is starting to come around. We were a little bit tight after the rain delay today, and we got in for a yellow and got the car working pretty good, and we're trying to get back on the lead lap, and it didn't work out.
And Billy was having a pretty good night. I think we had him up in the top 20. Doug Mayer got away from us. He went back into the pits. Guys, don't worry. And everyone in Milwaukee area, he's okay. Doug said he just got his teeth rattled a little bit.
Billy Turner there actually has some help from Jimmy Price, who is an all-pro competitor, so he's getting around the tracks a little bit better now in ASA.
We'll be right back to IRP. Stay with us, won't you? Speedway Starvin Marvin 200 here at Indianapolis Raceway Park, presented to you by Wins, is what we're bringing you today here on TNN Motorsports. Now again this season, you have the opportunity to win a Uniden Bearcat scanner, along with a 1-year Racers Frequency membership from Racing Electronics. Just send your name and address on a postcard to Racing Electronics, P.O. Box 241921, Charlotte, North Carolina 28224. And we'll announce the winner during each ASA telecast here on TNN throughout the year, so send in your card today. Now this week's winner is Charles Lewis from Simi Valley, California. Way to go, Charles. Enjoy your scanner from Racing Electronics. Congratulations.
If you've never been to a race without a scanner, if you've been to a race with a scanner, you're never going to go back without one.
No, that's
you can hear the teams, you can hear the officials, you can also hear the telecast if you can find it, and find out what we're talking about here on TNN.
And we can hear you do your great Ray Skillman interview.
Now.
Boy, Roger does look like he's having a good day.
Graduated high school 2 Fridays ago on Motor Madness. He skipped his college graduation to be with us on the series. 22 years of age.
Roger Slack is the official flagman for the American Speed Association.
10-year veteran flagging racing.
Yeah. Roger's been up there in the perch for quite a few years. Not as many as this man's been behind the wheel. Bob, apparently the folks back in Grand Rapids, Michigan area really getting hit hard with pretty much the weather we got here at IRP today. They had yesterday And Bob apparently had some problems at the house. He tried to get back late yesterday to see how things were going. His wife back at the house, and Bob, a private pilot, had his own plane here, tried to fly back, and the storms were so bad, even Bob couldn't get in, so he was forced to come back. So we hope everything is okay back at the Seneca residence back in Michigan. They'll be smiling right now with Bob out front, I'm sure of that. Looking for career win 83. He can pull it off here today. Stay with us. ASA back with you on TNN. The Speedway Starvin Marvin 200 coming at you from IRP. They must be happy with their guy Bob Seneca out front. It's a good look at the 23. Now, wait till the car comes around and you can see a good look at the nose on this car. Now, I want you to take notice of the hole at the bottom, the grill at the bottom of the car. You'll see how big the gap is on Rick Beebe's car. Then we're going to show you another one here as the field comes around. You see how much smaller it is here on the 18 car? Well, they want to try to run this variation, smaller one. See how small that gap is there? What that does is it reduces the amount of drag. Of course, the bigger the hole, see how big that hole is?
Yep.
Sucks more air in there. Now you can notice that Rick is not running the brake holes like where the 23 is. You'll see when we go back to Mike Miller's car, there'll be a hole there. That big scoop like that creates a lot more drag. You don't need that on a racetrack like this one here at IRP. So Mike Miller is one of the cars who's running the Pontiac, who's running the 1996 nose, which has a smaller opening there. Mike Garvey and some of the others doing that as well. They seem to think that balances the car out a little bit better on the Pontiac from the rear end to the front end on these big racetracks. They say that big scoop makes the car tend to push. Dave Burns?
Ralph, speaking of noses, Bob Seneca only changed one thing on his car in 1997, and that was the new nose on his Thunderbird. Now, he's been having overheating problems getting air to the carburetor. If you look underneath the hood of Bob's Thunderbird, you see something very unusual compared to everybody else's. He's got a huge hose running from the front into the carburetor. He calls it the elephant, and he's been trying to use that to correct his overheating problem in his Thunderbird. So noses and scoops and things like that, it's a lot of talk in ASA.
There is an air inlet for most of these cars right in front of the windshield where it meets up with the hood. That's where all the air is induced into the carburetor. Seneca trying to get some more air back there. And Seneca certainly has things going his way. The new nose, however, does come with new fenders and a new hood. So that does change your aerodynamics. I believe when Brett Bell was the first to change over, they had mentioned that there was about 1.5 inch difference in height just in front of the front wheels, where the hood was actually lowered by 1.5 inches on this new body style.
All the bodies are made by 5-Star. They cost about $2,500 to get a complete body for the American Speed Association cars. We go back to green, finally. Ford and the Speedy Pop Kroger, number 26. The Valvoline Raby Ford and Joey Knott into the wall.
Joe Knott went way too low going into turn number 1. He could not hold it down there, and as he came up, he tagged the left rear quarter panel. You see that heavy damage there. He didn't just tag him, he gave him a good hit as those cars did the pirouette, the double spin. Unfortunately for Knott, as we were just talking about how tight the car was in the corners, he couldn't hold it down. The car wasn't working right going in, and unfortunately took too low of a line going in and caused that caution.
So the 6th caution flag of the night comes out on lap 136. Watch and listen at full speed. A shower of sparks, and Sowinski got real lucky in this. Watch Sowinski. He's going to cut down to the bottom and just miss getting taken up in this.
Sowinski, the black one, hard on the brakes here. Now he sees Knott spinning, doesn't know which way to go, locks him up, does make contact.
Carlson and Garvey all to the bottom. Smokestack sneaking past.
Kevin Sowinski has been error-free this year. He's led in the first 6 events. In that one car, he's yet to lead tonight, and he might have a problem with that one car with the front end.
Well, you see the rear end dancing on Joe Knott, and he just collects Bill Barrett.
Again, entering the turn that low, there's really a slim chance of making it through the corner, much less too wide for Knott there. And unfortunately for Bill Baird, he also is now trailing some equipment down pit lane. Some debris came flying off of his car as he sped out the pits.
Scott Hansen still sits on pit road, taking a look at the 52 car, and we're about ready to go back to green. Jumping the restart. Boy, that kills his chances. Mike Chappie, the crew chief on that car, has, I think, been doing a great job. Kind of underrated as a crew chief on this tour. He's done a wonderful job. And Sowinski gets the black flag once again from Roger Slack. He's going to have to visit pit lane.
If he waits 3 or 4 laps, he'll be stopped in the scoring cycle, and now he slows down to come down pit lane. He also has right front body damage. As we see the right front headlight flapping from that incident with Joe Knott.
So Sowinski, he went around again. Well, now he got a thumbs up. Got a thumbs up, and maybe they just let him slide back a couple of slots.
The ruling is if you go behind the car you're attempting to pass and allow that driver to gain position, ASA then has the saying, if they say, for example, he jumped 2 cars in the restart, if he allows those 2 cars to get back by him, ASA will leave it go as long as he gives position back. Holtzhausen again holding up. Gary St. Amant dominant in at least 3 events this season. Finally pulled it off at Tri-City Speedway on Friday night, June 6th in Auburn, Michigan. Holtzhausen looking for his first win. His last victory at ASA came last August at Berlin Raceway. In this number 5 for car owner Don Finetti of the Structural Transport Team.
Mike Garvey's been very quick, but still sits 3 laps down. And he's got a big problem with PBR on the number 8.
One of the faster cars all evening had a tire go down, then it had to make another pit stop under green for a cut tire. Problems with that Meyer Tony's Pizza Pontiac. It really kept Garvey out of the storyline, but he has one of the faster cars in the racetrack is that white number 8.
Racing to the inside of Gary St. Amant and Steve Holtzhausen, who are battling for position in the 5 and the 7. And Sowinski coming back up to the number 1. And with more on Kevin's story, Dave.
Ralph, just before they went back to green, the ASA officials decided that Kevin was not in the right position. They asked him to get back. That didn't happen. He went green. They said, we'll black flag you. Then he moved back, as you guys noted, and then he got the thumbs up. He's all right.
Now he's trying to catch Gary Gary St. Amand, which would be for 4th position.
That Pontiac nose we documented is lower to the ground than any other make in the circuit. With that right front damage, he may have a problem with his handling. These bodies certainly are effective and ineffective if they're damaged here at IRP.
Car running in 6th place just behind him. Steve Carlson, who is fighting it out with Mike Miller, and there they are. And then Harold Fair and Mike Eddy right behind them. What a great pack we've got racing inside the top 10.
Steve Carlson's only trip here to the IRP prior to today was via television. He'd not been in a race at this racetrack in that Cleveland Trot Arctic Pontiac, running right behind Sawinski.
Mike Chaffee, the crew chief for Kevin Sawinski. Do you agree? Do you think he's fairly underrated?
I think he is. He worked for many years with Jay Sauter. He continually talks to his driver. He just this year came full-time on board with Favorite Racing. He had been a crew chief, pretty much holding on a second full-time job called Racing at ASA for many years, but now he's working in the shop and continues to be an electrical engineer for a company up in Minnesota.
Well, Garvey's feeling pretty racy here in that white with the blue number 8 on the side.
Bill Baird over turn 22.
Bill Baird into the wall, and now the yellow comes out. And look at the damage to the Kroger Speedy Pot number 26.
Bill Baird involved with the caution with Joe Knott. And as he left pit lane, there was some suspension components it looked like to me, or some bracketry that was falling off and trailing behind the 26 car. It may have just caused a handling problem beyond repair. As we see the right rear with heavy damage, he backed into the fence here at turn 1.
Bill Baird, who came from the dirt tracks to the American Speed Association, has developed into a pretty good pavement short track racer.
Good friend of Kenny Schrader. He tried his hand at ARCA Super Speedway race. He finished 4th at Daytona in February.
So they go to work. The Speedy Pop, Kroger, number 26, in pit lane, and these diehard ASA fans loving the action here at IRP. A broken panhard bar is what put the Speedy Pop Kroger car, Bill Baird, into the wall, bringing out our 7th caution on lap 150. We're getting ready to go back to green. It should be lap 155 with some 15 cars still on the lead lap of the scheduled 200 laps to go here at Indianapolis Raceway Park.
Seneca had a great jump. Rick Beebe as well on Gary St. Amand.
There's Harold Fair, the white CarQuest AC-Delco 81, fighting with Mike Eddy. Inside the top 10 as Eddy tries to make his way back to the front. Harold Fair has been on fire the last 2 races on this tour.
Battle for 8th right here. Harold Fair in that white 81. GM Goodwrench Service plus Pontiac of Mike Eddy. On the inside for now, he's now settled back to 9th and make another run in a lap or so.
Seneca leads it. Rick Beebe is 2nd. Gary St. Amand is 3rd. Holzhausen is 4th. Sawinski diving inside of him as they fight for that position. He runs in 5th. Then it's Mike Miller, Steve Carlson, and then the fight you're watching there in 7th and 8th. There's that fight for 4th.
Kevin Sawinski gave a serious look to the inside in turns 3 and 4. Once again, ducks below the 5 of Holzhausen. Down the back straightaway comes the Coleman Racing Products Pontiac of Kevin Sawinski.
He'll take the position. Smokestad runs in 9th, by the way. Loney is in 10th. Peter Cozzolino and Brett Bell running 11th and 12th. Good run for those two.
Certainly is. Brett Bell, the Wonder Bar Ford, has quietly kept himself on lead lap in 12th position. Cozzolino, a crew member for Joe Knott in one of his 7 ASA starts, continues to impress the ASA crowd here.
Al Seneca getting the heat now. Rick Beebe, the man who started this race on the pole. That 23 car, the St. Louis Gear Royal Machine Pontiac. Here's the fight.
Go ahead.
Fight a little bit deeper as Mike Miller tried to get inside of Holzhausen.
Didn't mean to step on you there, but the action all over the racetrack is certainly something we have to keep our eyes on here. Is now Holzhausen and again, and the 18 car of Mike Miller go at it. And look how far back the 5 car of Holzhausen is to Kevin Sawinski. Just 2 laps ago, they were nose to tail with Sawinski behind Holzhausen. So Holzhausen pitted on lap number 74. That was the only time down pit lane. Mike Miller has come down at least twice since then. Certainly shows the difference in worn tires versus newer tires.
That's a fight for 5th. Garvey in the 8 car right behind him, still 3 laps down. Boy, you got to wonder how racy he would have been had he not had his problems.
22 cars are still running out of 36 that have started.
Holzhausen still looking for his first win in 1997. Mike Miller winning the season opener at Kenley, and Mike Garvey in that 8 car winning the race at Pensacola, Florida. Look at the fight for the lead now. 4 cars. Ford leading a Pontiac with a Chevy running in 3rd and another Pontiac behind him in 4th position. What a great fight. Pontiac, of course, leading the manufacturer's title this year.
Bob Seneca has led the last 53 laps, with Rick Beebe pretty much filling up the mirrors of that Blow 84 mirror as the Royal Machine car again looks to the inside, and Sawinski, the car on the move, passed Holzhausen 3 laps ago and now charges for 3rd.
And Gary St. Amant, Jim, should have won at least 2 races earlier in the season at Jefferson. He'll admit to it. He made a mistake coming down pit road when the crew wasn't ready for him. Cost him the race there, and he's had numerous other chances this year, only with 1 victory to his credit. Sawinski finally getting his first win at the last race at Berlin in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
According to my unofficial records, the 7 car of St. Amant also pitted on that lap 74 caution and has yet to revisit pit lane. Kevin Sawinski made a stop on lap 107 for fresh right side tires, and it seems to be paying off for that Pontiac driver.
With 36 laps to go, we saw Junior Hanley go 107 laps without a need for tire and fuels. You would assume these guys could push it that far if they need to the end.
Steve Holzhausen, unfortunately, was not one of the drivers being able to push it there, as now he is losing what could be another position at 18, Mike Miller.
That's the fight for 5th, and here comes Mike Eddy getting in the middle of this as well. That Goodwrench Service Pontiac fighting for it. We might be seeing a change to the paint scheme of that 88 in the coming weeks. We'll be showing you that maybe at Kaukauna when T&M brings you another AC-Delco challenge. Oh, and a yellow flag is out. And we see a problem on the back straightaway. Brett Bell, the number 56 Wonder Park Coca-Cola machine, who had such a good race going, started 14th, was fighting in 11th position, and has lost it on the back straightaway, not sure why. Works out of Jeff Gordon's old shops in Pittsboro, Indiana, which is just about 5 minutes from this racetrack. Grew up with Jeff in Vacaville, California. I was going to think maybe he cut a tire down, but it doesn't look like it.
See the water on the inside of the racetrack? On the back straightaway, there's grass between the backstretch and the wall. He was stuck in the grass, spinning around trying to get righted. He lost the lap in the 56 car.
Well, Brett will be switching from that Ford to a Pontiac in coming weeks. Tonight, he's trying to get back into the action. The fight for 5th is a tremendous one as the premier short track sanctioning body in the country, the American Speed Association, is winding down at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Steve Holzhausen, the number 5, holds on to the 5th position. The red and white 18 of Mike Miller gets into the back of him from 6, and look at Mike Eddy coming up inside to take that position.
Saw markings on the right side of Mike Miller's car. That's when he got next to Steve Holzhausen. Then he had to battle with Mike Eddy, and Eddy right now is in the 6th spot, so he's conquered that battle.
Here's your fight for the lead up front. Rick Beebe to the inside of Seneca, who leads it in the blue 84. Beebe on the bottom group. St. Amant and Sawinski running in 3rd and 4th. Beebe can't get the job done as Bob Seneca continues to look for his first win in the 1997 AC-Delco Challenge Series season.
Saturday night under the lights at IRP, 25 laps to go. It's feature time, and certainly time to hit the gas pedal and see what's left in these AC-Delco Challenge Series machines. Seneca hanging on to the lead now since the 109th circuit. Beebe, the pole sitter, led early and has seriously been in contention throughout the evening. Gary St. Amant coming up from 15th starting spot to 3rd.
5th place now as Mike Eddy comes inside of Holzhausen, and Miller trying to come with him. Harold Fair right behind them in the 81 car. Mike Eddy gets 5th position. Now, can he catch the pack in front of him? There's your 4 leaders. There's a gap back to 5th. Mike Miller fighting with Holzhausen for 6th position. Fair trying to figure out which car he needs to get behind to push past. Garvey in the 8, still laps down. Oh, and look at Fair get into the back of Mike Miller. Behind them, Carlson, Handley, Smokestad, and Loney. Great racing all the way throughout the top 10 and in the top 15. Fight for the lead up front. Which pack do we watch?
That's the third time in a row Rick Beebe's looked to the inside of Bob Seneker in turns 3 and 4. It's been unsuccessful thus far, but start-finish lines here in the front stretch.
Sawinski to the bottom of St. Amant. Can't get him.
Beebe might see if he is able to hold the inside line for a last lap or two challenge. If he does go low, he has St. Amant to go around the outside. So if Beebe does take a look, he has to close that outside line quickly so St. Amant does not pull even.
Seneker trying to hold on. Looking for that first win in 97. Sawinski and St. Amant, of course, the two drivers that come into this series with this race with the most recent victory, sweeping the two events in Michigan. Beebe with a good run at Seneker this time. Right up alongside of him as they come off a 2. The Thunderbird has more horsepower down the backstretch, and it shows. 20 to go. The fight for 5th behind him. Here comes Eddie. Holzhausen and Miller and Harold Fair, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And Junior Handley with him at 9th. Smokestad holds on to 10th. Carlson is 11th. Loney is 12th. Cosolino behind them.
Front 4 cars drafting down the front straightaway within this next pack. Junior Handley actually made a late race pit stop under that last caution, so he's passed at least 10 cars to get to this point. See if he has any tires left to advance from mine.
Well, Mike Eddy is pulling away from the second pack, but he is not gaining a whole lot of ground on the lead pack of 4. Pushing on the back of Holzhausen, got him a little loose, comes up along the inside of him. Fair stays up behind Holzhausen, trying to push past. And here comes Junior. He tries to get up underneath Miller, comes up underneath Handley.
Back up front now, Rick Beebe to the inside of Bob Seneker as we go into turn number 2. Beebe again with a better run. We'll see if he can hold it. Seneker got ahead of him.
Oh, contact big time! They get together down the backstretch. Beebe nose first into the backstretch wall. St. Amant, Sawinski all get past. Seneker keeps it straight. He drives on, and Beebe is able to limp around. What a wild finish we've got brewing here. Rick Beebe, who started on the pole, was racing so hard and so close with Bob Seneker, Jim, and they just got too close coming down the back chute.
Beebe knew he had to take advantage of Seneker's run off in turn number 2. We saw it 3 laps ago when Seneker pulled him down the back straightaway. What Beebe was trying to do was trying to get right ahead of Seneker. Didn't have enough room when they got together. We see Seneker hard on the brakes, was able to avoid any major damage to that front end of that 84 car.
Well, I know, but Jim, you know, you never know, and I got a funny feeling with Bob, we won't know until he gets hard on the gas. There's rubbing back here. There might have been some damage to the rear end of Seneker's car when they initially made contact.
We see Beebe now going up the backstretch. Seneker's no longer inside, and Beebe moved up the racetrack.
See, Seneker's car slapped that right rear into the wall, and that might have knocked that rear end out of whack.
And the left front of Seneker's car has, the right sides are definitely pancaked.
Oh yeah, look at the whole right side of the car. The Lane Automotive JR Automation Mechanics Wear car with big problems on the 84. Beebe, heavy nose damage. Wow, what a great race. We hope you're enjoying it from IRP. Stay with us for the completion with the American Speed Association. There's Rick Beebe out of the car of the number 23. Crew proud of the efforts, but it's not what he was hoping for. They'll push number 23 back behind the wall as we go back to green. Gary St. Amant leads Kevin Sawinski, Bob Seneker, Mike Eddy, Holzhausen, Miller, Fair, Handley, Smokestack and the rest back to the line. What a great finish we got brewing here. This is just what Mike Eddy needed too. He sits in fourth. Look at Seneca. You can see that rear end dancing. He knows he's got a problem. Mike Eddy goes by on the outside. Seneca, unfortunately, dropping back like a rock. Look at Harold Fair on the top, having problems with the CarQuest 81 now. So Seneca just going to try to hang on and get what he can. Here's the reason why. Watch this.
Off for turn number 2, Rick Beebe had a run at him, and Seneca and Beebe simply made contact. It looked like it might have been Beebe moving up the racetrack, but Seneca did slap the wall slightly with the right rear and got a little loose. And
the crowd reaction. The Rick Beebe fans frustrated as they saw their man coming to the front. You know, the air really buffets around in there at those high speeds. Maybe aerodynamically, he just got out of shape. Look at Hanley getting into Holzhausen. Dave Burns?
Well, Rick Beebe standing by. Rick, give us your vantage point. What happened?
Well, we was fighting hard with the 84 car and, you know, lap after lap just trying to be cool and had a few laps to go and trying to be a gentleman. And I thought I had got around him fairly clean and coming off 2 there. I don't know, you know, if I drifted up a little bit or what. I would have wished he'd have given me a little room, but he didn't. And that's how it goes, man. We're racing hard.
Can you guys get the car to beat next week at I-70?
Well, I hope so. I think we had the car to beat tonight. I think if we could have ever gotten by 84, we'd probably had a good shot, but hey, we didn't do it. Gave it a good shot. Maybe we'll get him next week.
Hey, this is a full contact sport here tonight. Look at Miller and Mike Eddy swapping paint. The 88 on Mike Eddy and Mike Miller. These two have gone at it on short tracks across this country for years. They're having at it in the Hoosier State tonight.
And Mike Miller spent about 15 laps to the inside of Steve Holzhausen. So he knows the inside line. He does.
We got Harold Fair brushing up against the wall. The 81 car, remember, I said earlier that about 5 laps ago, you saw him getting real loose in 3 and 4. Maybe he's got a big problem with that car.
Came in on lap 83 for left side tires, but he's gone over 100 laps on the set.
Junior Hanley trying to get to the bottom of Mike Miller in the 72. Meanwhile, Gary St. Amant continues to lead this, but this is a great fight. There is your leader. And there is second place Sawinski, and here's a fight for third behind him. Now, Gary St. Amant came into this race sitting third in the points with Dave Sensiba out for many, many laps. Gary, if he can hold on and win here, Jim, should overtake Sensiba in second place in the point standings. Sawinski came in as the points leader. He'll pick up a few more.
His point rival, Sawinski, runs second with 4 circuits remaining. This is the battle for third now.
St. Amant out front, but it's Mike Eddy, Mike Miller, and Junior Hanley putting on the show. There's your leader. There's second place, and here comes the fight for third.
Miller with knowledge of the inside line got the door shut on him there as Mike Eddy came down the racetrack to protect his line.
Great short track racing with the American Speed Association stars tonight at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Hanley to the bottom of Mike Miller. Still can't get it done. Contact, look at him rubbing fenders. Banging and beating their way to the white flag, which will be coming out shortly. Mike Eddy holds on to third. Junior Hanley and Mike Miller racing hard for fourth. Side by side, lap after lap here on this big half mile in Indianapolis.
This is the performance Junior Hanley was almost expected to have in ASA on a weekly basis.
Look how deep he ran it into that corner, Jim. The white flag is out. There is first, there is second. Here comes a fight for third. Mike Eddy hangs on to third. Junior Hanley giving the Georgia native Mike Miller all he can handle as Gary St. Amant with just a couple of turns to go before becoming the first repeat winner in 97. Here he comes. Gary St. Amant gets the win. Sawinski gets second. Who's going to get third? Mike Eddy. Junior Hanley will take fourth by a nose. And Mike Miller comes home in fifth. What a tremendous race the Speedway Starvin Marvin 200 was here at Indianapolis Raceway Park with the AC-Delco Challenge Series. We'll be back to talk to the first repeat winner of the 1997 season. You're right, Lisa Dickinson, Miss Wins. Your driver's the winner. Gary St. Amant started this race 15th today. There's smiling Gary with Bev Olschick from Wins right alongside of him. Gary becomes the first repeat winner of the 1997 AC-Delco Challenge Series season. Let's go meet our happy winner with Dave Burns.
Yeah, twice as nice for Gary this weekend, the first repeat winner, as you said. And you guys are talking about the car here. It's finally the car. What do you mean?
Well, this is the second race for this new Port City car, and you know, we kind of wondered about it because we ran it at Berlin. We had a 5th place finish. You know, really didn't qualify all that well, and come here and qualify 15th. You know, our worst qualifying effort of the year, and you know, we probably didn't have the best car as far as passing goes. But once we got in the groove, I knew if we were out front that they weren't going to catch us. And you know, it's a shame what happened with Bob and Rick. You know, Rick had a dynamite car. You know, but just real happy, you know, for Wins and West Michigan Chevy dealers, Lane Automotive, Port City, Handy Wax, Turbo Blue, you know, all of them.
I think you got them all. Now, Bud Gevin, slip in here, buddy. Now, the first win, this is car owner Bud Gevin. Sit there with your driver. We'll just ask the questions here. Bev Olschick from Wins here. The first win, you said, this is for guys like Percy Baum and other guys who've been around for 20 years and never had a major win. You said you'd take the next one. How do you feel?
This is a great one. This is one we really didn't expect the way we qualified, and brand new car and everything. But, you know, I got to thank Win Oil Company, West Michigan Chevrolet dealers, and Lane Automotive. They've really helped us out, and this boy is one super driver.
What are you going to do with the third one?
We're going to go after that next week.
All right, pretty happy bunch down here in the Wins pit.
Well, next week they'll be moving on to I-70 Speedway in Kansas City, Missouri. AC-Delco Challenge Series motors on to the 1997 season. Well, we're not through with the folks at Wins yet. The Wins winning move, we got to give it to Bob Seneker. He started the race in 19th position, fought his way up.
Led the most laps.
Had the problem with Rick Beebe, and still, after all of that, the sneaker came home in 7th position behind Steve Holtzhausen. That's pretty good afternoon behind the wheel.
Considering how much of a handful it was in those final laps.
Well, we're not done yet from Indianapolis Raceway Park. Stay with us, won't you? We got a few more things to throw your way from IRP. We're back, and the rain has stopped, and the fans have waited it out here. We're fortunate enough to be able to see a tremendous short track race here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. The Speedway Starvin Marvin 200 presented by Wins was well worth the wait through the hurricane-like weather we had to get through here tonight. Kevin Sawinski will say it was well worth the wait because he comes out of here as still the points leader with a fine second-place effort.
Yeah, and he's in a real rut here at Indianapolis Raceway Park, Ralph. 2 races here, 2 second places. Couldn't quite get it up to the front tonight, but you were kind of breaking in a second groove there, but it was really tough to get on the bottom groove, wasn't it?
It really was. You know, we were working Gary there for the longest time when Bob and Rick were fighting up front there, and we thought we could get him a couple times, and he was able to hold us off and used our tires up a little bit too much and didn't really have nothing there for the end of them.
Now, you guys kind of fell in line this year with the strategy as far as when to come in, and you really pitted just a little bit after lap 100. Did you have enough tires at the end, or were you really short on those?
Well, you know, we were probably short of what we needed to be to get by Gary, but I think we did the right thing for track position and going for the win late in the race. And you know, I got to really give this crew credit. They got me out of the pits, I think, first every time. So all we're looking forward to is hopefully find a sponsor for this Pontiac, and we're ready for another victory.
And how is the team right now? You're almost halfway through the season. You retain the points lead. How are things as far as the whole group goes?
Things are really going good. You know, the crew is pulled together super. We're working out this Pontiac body, and things are looking really good.
And remember, guys, they did switch this year from Chevrolet to Pontiac, and with the points lead, I think they're figuring that out pretty well.
Sawinski didn't lead tonight, but I'm sure he'll take a runner-up position and hang on to that point lead. And this guy's not going to just win one race this year, I don't think.
I'm going to hate to see what happens when he starts to like this place. Gary St. Amant enjoying the spoils of victory here at IRP. We're not done yet. We got a few more things for you. Please stay with us. The AC-Delco Challenge Series on TNN is brought to you in part by your GM Goodwrench service dealer. We want your business. Now we're wrapping up things with the Speedway Starvin Marvin 200, brought to you by Wins here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Mike Eddy finished third tonight. He is standing by with Dave.
I don't have to tell you how good this guy is at handling a race car, but how about a race car with a left rear tire going down, Mike? How many laps before you were in serious trouble?
Well, I was getting slower every lap there. The end couldn't come quick enough for me. You know, that GM Goodwrench Pontiac, we've been struggling this year. We've been struggling for a while, you know. Can't really put your finger on anything, but I think it happens to all racers sometime. And, you know, we've been working hard, working through it, and we're finally running good again, and we're finishing now. And all we need is a little bit of good luck and keep some air in our tires, and I think we'll be in the winner's circle.
Now, Mike, we saw you give a thumbs up and a smile to the K-Tech engineer on one of your pit stops tonight. How good is that motor?
Well, I've been really tickled with my motors this year. They just run really fine, and it's just something I don't have to think about.
All right, guys, he still doesn't like finishing third, though, so look for Mike Eddy to be in the winner's circle before long.
He hasn't won in 19 races, Ralph, but the performance the last 3 shows certainly means that the 88 is back and in contention for a win.
Oh, it's just a matter of time. There is no doubt about it. Mike Eddy will make his way back to victory lane. Here's a look at the full field rundown. You saw these top 5 come across the line. What a tremendous finish it was with the AC-Delco Challenge Series drivers, and I think they proved once again tonight why they are unofficially the best short track drivers in the business in the most highly contested series going on short tracks across the country.
Hats off to rookie Peter Cozzolino, finishing 10th. First time ever in an ASA car here.
Really nice job. Steve Carlson comes home 11th. Joey Knott had his problems. He finished 13th. Buddy Schrock did not like this place. He came home in 14th. Brandon Sperling really struggled at the beginning of the race, but he gets a top 15 out of it. Nice run for those 3.
Now, Brett Bell was running as high as 11th. He spun late in the race. He comes back for 16th. Mike Kofer in a backup car to 17th. Dennis Berry finished up 19th with that brake problem. Alec Pincino had a header problem. He finished up 20th.
Rick Beattie, boy, what a great shot he had at the win. Instead, it's 21st. Scott Hansen, very strong early on. He finishes 22nd.
And he was 5th in points coming into this, so this effort will hurt his chances at a title. He'll have to really put on a strong performance the next 2 or 3 races to get back in contention.
Jack Landis and Bill Baird and Tim Sauter all looked good early on. They all finished inside the top 25. Some guys just didn't get started tonight, like Yale Conley. Doug Mayer caught up in a serious incident. Good to see that he's okay. He'll be pleased with the 27th just to get out of here all right. Robbie Pyle looked good early on. He struggles with the 31st, and Dave Sensiba came into this race second in the points. He is going to come out of here about 4th in the point standings by the time everything is done. And Torch is finished with his calculations over here.
Aaron Hunt, the first car out of the race in number 86. He made it on a provisional, so his night ended far too quickly for that team.
Victory lane celebrations continue. We'll have a few more things with you when we come back. Well, Junior Hanley proved once again tonight here at Indianapolis Raceway Park why he is the greatest stock car driver out of the country of Canada. He finished off with a 4th place effort here tonight in fantastic style, and he stands by with Dave Burns.
Well, Junior, the car was great all night. You guys got a lot of things together, but that last set of rights, that seemed to be the ticket. Did that tighten you up? That's what they were trying to do.
Well, you know, we run 100 and some laps on the first set of tires, and they were pretty good. So when we come in, we put the same kind of setup back on, and the right rear bleeder stuck in the tire. So we had to come back in and change that tire because the bleeder messed up. And then when we put the new ones on, the car was really good again.
Okay, gave him a fourth place finish, guys. And by the way, we had a little engagement action going on here tonight, guys, in the McDonald's pit. Remember Kristen Carlson? She's the tire carrier for Peter Cozzolino. Well, Brad Spooner proposed, and she said yes.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
There'll be a couple weddings on that team because Peter Cozzolino's fiancée, Christina, is the gas can catch person, so.
Point standings, 123 points now separate first and second. 84 points will separate third from second place, and a lot of guys moving around. Look at Dave Sensiba drops all the way to 4th. He came into this race in second place. A couple other notables. Scott Hansen slips all the way back to 6th. Rick Beebe moves up to 7th position in the point standings. As you look at the rest, and Seneker and Joe Knott holds on to 10th in the points, which is right where he started. Unfortunately, not able to capitalize and move up any tonight.
The crew's using many pit equipment pieces to get the equipment back out. It's been a long couple of days for these guys. It was a long, hot day yesterday when practice and qualifying was underway. Today we went through about 100% humidity before that huge storm came through. They got all drenched and kept the cars covered, but a lot of the crew guys still a little damp from that rain shower that kept us from the start original time here.
Well, this AC-Delco Challenge Series tour is going to move on down the highway, down I-70 to I-70 Speedway. Kansas City, Missouri will be their next stop. And then, of course, the next race that you're going to see live on TNN will not be the Track Auto 200. You will see that one on TNN a little bit later in the summer. But our next live ASA race on TNN will come from Kaukauna, Wisconsin on July 4th. We will be making our first of 3 visits into the state of Wisconsin. That will be one. Of course, you will see that Milwaukee race later in the summer.
Heading back to Cheeseland 3 times this year.
You're going to love that. You'll almost be able to sleep in your own bed. Dave Burns?
Well, everyone at home, we want to just have you keep in mind our good friend Dr. Yale Conley. On Monday morning, he goes in and performs surgery on his stepfather. So keep him and his mom, Barb Odell, in mind. They're going to have kind of a traumatic Monday. We're glad to have him back at the racetrack, though, after a couple of weeks off.
All right, Dave. Nice job down there in the pits. Of course, as we said, the tour will get ready, loaded up, and move on down the road. Two-way communications equipment for the AC-Delco Challenge Series is provided by Racing Electronics, official communications company of the American Speed Association. ASA Racing is produced for television by Silver Fox Sports, Charlotte, North Carolina. Gary St. Amant, the first repeat winner of the 1997 AC-Delco Challenge Series season, has done it here at IRP, his 7th career victory. For Dave Burns, Jim Trado, and all the kids down in the truck who weathered out the horrendous storms here at IRP, I'm Ralph Sheen. So long from Indianapolis Raceway Park. The spoils of victory, Gary.